The opinions expressed are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the official positions of the sponsors, advertisers, or presenters. Advertising does not imply endorsement by the sponsors and presenters.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Lighting Controls Podcast. We have another fantastic show for you today. We have two guests for you today to tell you about a brand new expo that's happening north of the border. But before we jump into the conversation, let me take a minute to remind everyone today's episode is presented by the LCA, the Lighting Controls Association.
And it's financially supported by the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors, or NAILD. Check out our website, lightingcontrolspodcast.com. We've got all of our episodes, a news feed, merch store, council on lighting control startup and integration, and training opportunities coming around on the internet. But also, just so you know, we've got some exciting stuff going on, expos, all that stuff we're going to talk about in a moment. But this is an unsponsored episode, so just wanted to briefly mention where Ron and I do our day jobs outside of this podcast. I have my own company, Penumbra Controls, where I do a lot of education and outreach for people to get familiar with lighting and lighting controls in this industry and adjacent industries. So check it out, penumbracontrols.com. And then Ron, do you want to talk briefly about Port?
Yeah, absolutely. Here at Port, we have two different sides of the company, right? We have our production side that handles all the live events, and then the installation side where I reside. And we handle everything from theatrical to architectural. We're a full service dealer and integrator, and we help people with all of their project needs, whether it's a school or you want to light up the facade of your building. We're here to help you with whatever you need.
Well, great. Well, so today we've got some really cool guests to tell us about this exciting upcoming expo. But before we get into it, do you guys just mind giving us a quick breakdown on who you are and what you do? Gaurav, I'll start with you first.
Yeah, hi. Welcome, everyone. This is Gaurav Juneja. I'm the project director at Canada Light Expo. So Canada Light Expo is being organized by MEX International Inc, company registered incorporated in Canada. It's a subsidiary of MEX Exhibitions. We organize various trade shows in Asia, in India, Thailand, and Dubai. We've been in the lighting industry for last, I think, so about 15 years. About 2009 is when we started the first LED show in India. 2013, we started the first LED show in Thailand. And we were looking to expand to more places. So definitely, if you go to Europe, it has its own shows. China, Asia had a lot of shows. Middle East has shows. So North America had shows. But if we talk about Mexico didn't have a show. Canada didn't have a show. So we thought, why don't we nail it on Canada? Canada, yes, the economy is smaller than North America, but it's a fantastic market, wonderful market, a very mature market. So we thought, when we were doing some Reikian research, we found there was some show called IREX, which used to happen about 10 years, 12 years back. And it was more on architectural services, building materials, interior, and all those things. So nothing standalone on lighting. And we have this field for the last 15 years. We thought, let's do something on lighting there. So we launched this show called Canada Light Expo, which is on a convex model, which has an educational program, a conference, along with an exhibition. This is the first exhibition where we have a good lineup of exhibitors as well as a good lineup of educationalists who are presenting at the show. Lighting Agora is one of is a knowledge partner for the session. We have Tom, who's curated the whole educational seminar. We have other associations like the ASHP, Association of Smart Home and Building Builders. Then we have the OSIA, which is the Ontario Sustainable Economic Development. Plus, we have other leading exhibitors from Canada, US. We have from Greece, Turkey, and Taiwan and China who are exhibiting at the show. So it's a show which is for the architects, specifiers, lighting designers, contractors, wholesale distributors, lighting stores. So it's a must visit show for all these people. And definitely, being the first edition, we anticipate the show will grow each year. As the awareness of the show grows, as more and more people become more aware, definitely it'll be growing. And we've seen the trend post-COVID that everything's become geo-local. Everyone wants to have local. They don't want to travel abroad. With the work from home culture, people are not moving to offices, so they don't want to go fly far. They don't want to get into those big shows anymore. Like if you go to Germany or US, you don't get that welcome. So here we are focusing on networking, more of B2B matchmaking, more of closeness, more of one-to-one. So that's the format and that's the template what we are focusing on this year.
No, that's great, and I'd love to get into that conversation. But first, I want to talk with Tom. Just Tom, do you mind giving us a quick breakdown on who you are and what you do?
Yeah, most certainly. My name is Tom Butters, and I am the founder and executive director of the Lighting Agora. I've been in the lighting industry since 1986 and been an educator across North America since 2000, including a 4.5-year stint at the IES as Director of Education. I'm also the executive director of the National Lighting Bureau, and I'm a very proud member of the Knuckles Fund for Lighting Education. So we do grants and that type of thing. I am thrilled to be working with Gaurav and as a knowledge partner for Canada Light Talks is what we're calling the educational program. And I hope we're going to get into it because we've got a stellar slate of presenters, including somebody on this screen. Actually, there's 50% of us are going to be presenting. So because I'll be presenting too. So anyway, so thank you guys for having us, and I'm very proud to be with the Canada Light Expo.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the show. I mean, we love talking with people, especially people who are as passionate about education as we are. And so it's really great to have you on this show. Just to tell people, yes, I will be presenting at this expo. That's what Tom was alluding to. And I will be doing two presentations.
Two presentations. That's right.
Well, we'll do a panel discussion and then a workshop. But
yeah.
Outside of that, I think it's really exciting to see these sorts of local focused shows because, as I think you mentioned, Gaurav, like we're seeing this migration from these international hyper focused large scale expos that are now scaling down and being more local, and we haven't really seen anything in Toronto for a little while, so it is kind of interesting to see Toronto crop up on the radar again. And so I was curious, you mentioned that Toronto seemed like a good location to set this up, and do you mind just talking a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. See, I would say that there, when we've been doing our research, we found that the market is totally different from Asia. Asia, you have more manufacturers participating, the bigger companies and all those things. But here, it's more like sales reps. What do you call it? Sales reps, agencies. Sorry, agencies who represent 40 brands, 50 brands. We were shocked to see that one company representing. They have a line card of 50 brands to them. This sort of culture is not there in Asia. So if they're doing maximum any company, they are distributing maximum 1 or 2 brands. That's it.
Oh,
but
wow.
yeah, there we could see about 50. Yeah, so the culture is totally different. The way of working is totally different. And as you said, that now people are more focusing on smaller markets, local shows. In fact, we received very good visitor registration. We've got visitors coming across from US, Mexico, Turkey. It's that sort of thing is there. So people are excited to come from US to see how the market. I got an email that day from a big manufacturer in US. He wants to know who are the reps participating or who are the distributors participating in Canada. So I asked him why. He said, I want to find a distributor for my company. So there are a lot of companies who want to come to Canada. They want to sell into Canada, but they're finding channel partners, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good sign, and everyone knows the importance of Canada, lighting market in Canada. As the Canadian government is also focusing on energy conservation, energy system, and they have the net zero goal also. So when they're talking about net zero and all those things, they have to adopt to sustainable technologies. And the lighting is changing every day. There was a time when there were incandescent bulbs, then the CFL came up, and since 2008 or 9, LED came up. So now that's also changed. Everything is going now smart, I would say. So if you talk about US, Europe, it's more of smart lighting. The regular ones are gone. Everything is controlled with your phones, or controlled, all those things. And you are, I think, the master in the control and all those things. So we've seen a shift in the lighting trends in different markets all across. And it's not the only commercial lighting or the particularly talk about commodity lighting. We seeing exhibitors. We have exhibitors who are into architectural lighting. We have one exhibitor from Greece, especially coming. He specializes in holiday lighting,
Hmm.
so decorative lights and Christmas lights and all those things. So it's a very different ball game altogether.
Yeah, well, and so I mean that's really interesting to hear, and I understand, that Canada, from coming from the U.S., for instance, it can be a little challenging to penetrate that market, because there are actually a good number of manufacturers in Canada producing products and have those relationships already. So I can see how this would be a benefit to that, to raise awareness, develop connections and networking, and really shore up the path across the border, so that there is really better collaboration between the two countries' marketplaces. Because while whenever I educate people, I usually am talking about the North American market. It is much more U.S. focused than it is Canadian focused, just because there is that sort of barrier to visibility across the border. So I think that this is fantastic, and I think Toronto makes sense because it's a lot more closer to the eastern side of the country. Whereas it might make sense eventually to do a Vancouver one, which would be sort of like a
Hmm.
sister expo. But so Tom, do you mind talking a little bit about the education, since you're in charge of curating these seminars?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I was thrilled with our ability to put together a slate. I'll tell you right now that not one person that I approached, and I approached people on the basis of their expertise, etc. Not one person said no. So
That's awesome.
so no, I mean, just think about that. Think about that. If I
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
putting out a slate, and I'm saying I want this person to do this and this person. I've been doing this type of thing for many years, and try to put together a program that will be broad enough that different people would like to take it in, but also depth enough, because this is where we want to get into some depth. So we have 3 tracks that we put together. Lighting controls. You guys may be familiar with that type of topic.
just
Um,
a little bit.
yeah, we have lighting in the environment, right? So outdoor
Mhm.
lighting and all of that. Light and health with it, which is still, I mean, I can't believe that people are still just getting into that topic because it's just so important, but the general population still doesn't know enough about that. And then the final one is uh, LEDs and design. So to properly design LEDs and to understand what the nuances are of LEDs compared to a traditional source. So those are our 4
Mm.
tracks, and we're like absolutely. Again, I tried to reach out to as many experts as I know. We have experts coming in from Florida, San Diego, Portland, Boston, and think about that. If you take the continental United States and you put that's a big area. We're
Yeah.
covering a
Yep.
lot of that, and we have also 11 local experts. So those from the Toronto and the Greater Toronto area. So there's an incredible mix that I'm really thrilled that we were able to accomplish, to have exterior experts and local experts.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I
In
think that
fact,
that's
in fact,
great.
I would say that Tom has created a very good lineup of speakers, educationalists, the workshop. What Tom has designed, student workshops. I think there will be a draw. There would be definitely good turnout at the show.
Certainly hope so.
I'm curious. So you've got people from, obviously both, right, the United States and from Canada. So I think it'll be
Mhm.
interesting. Do you have any topics that then talk about sort of the different sales channels between the two markets and how people can get product from, the United States into Canada and vice versa? Because the two markets are very different as
Mhm.
far as how they
Right.
operate, right? Their sales channels, everything's very different. So if you take a US company who's looking at possibly doing a project in Toronto, it's not as
Hmm.
easy as they may think as they're doing a project in, say, Michigan or something. So is that part of your conversation at all as well, or?
That's just absolutely a brilliant observation. We don't have anything on that track at this present time, but if you want to talk to us again next year, like for 2025, I
Uh,
assure you, we're going to have the sales track education.
no, in fact,
Sorry, Gaurav.
that's a very good idea. We could include cross-border trade also. That's a very important topic, I think. So we all talking about education, design, nothing on sales, but yes, definitely we can have something on cross-border trade definitely next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
thank
think
you for
that
the idea. I'm going to steal that.
You're very welcome.
But no, I mean, regardless, I mean, I think in its first year, it sounds like it's already got a lot of great resources
Yeah.
for people to take advantage of. And so, these conversations will happen more organically, I imagine, on the floor, on the show floor, than in a formal educational area. But at the same time, I think we really are. It sounds like you're really opening the door here for that kind of thought process, which beforehand, people really hadn't had that exposure ability to really tap somebody and say, hey, how do I do this? So, regardless, you're already creating the foundation for that with this expo, whether or not it's a formal thing. But you mentioned sales track. Now, are there tracks right now?
Yes, we've got the controls track, the
Mhm.
environmental track,
Right,
the
right.
health track, and then the design track. So there's
And so
four.
these are curated tracks that people can basically say, I wanna sign up for this track, or is it more ad hoc?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a little bit more ad hoc than one might wish for because since we only have one presentation area,
Hmm.
what
Mm.
we've tried to do is we've tried to, as much as possible, to a certain extent, is to put like-minded tracks on the same day so people can come. However, that would be really dumb of us if we only put controls on one day and not have people come on
Right.
Wednesday and Thursday, right? So
Yeah.
if you look at the program, you'll see that okay, oh, this is a heavy controls day, but there's also this one that we really need to see on the following day. I recommend for anybody who's in the Toronto area, like to get the week pass, to get the whole
Hmm.
week pass, and then you can
Right.
just sit in on any presentation that you want. You have the whole floor of the pavilion. We have a keynote speaker. I mean, everybody should know Mark Lean. If you don't, look him up. He's going to be the keynote on the first day, and then there's going to be right after the keynote, there's going to be an industry luncheon. So like
Mm.
everybody just to mingle and eat and do that stuff that sales track that I omitted. And thank you very much for putting that out. That I made a mistake in putting this together, but I'm serious. I'm joking, right?
I
So,
don't
but
think it's I
seriously,
don't think it's a
yeah,
mistake. I
no,
think
please, you have to know my sense of humor. Anyway, but we're going to have that as more of an informal network luncheon on the first day. Yeah, so
Nice.
but
it's going to be
Yeah.
and that's great that basically we don't really have a lot of that in our industry right now where there's just sort of like a mingling. We do have sort of like parties and after parties and like dinners and stuff, but this sounds like it's in the middle of the day.
yeah, it's right at it's
Some
the sorry like the keynote is at 11 o'clock till noon, and then from noon until 1 is just networking right in the same area.
That's
Sorry,
awesome.
Gaurav, please.
Nice. I think it's
Yeah,
smart to be
yeah.
able to
What?
have your course selection. Oh, no, go ahead, Gaurav.
No, I said what Tom was saying. That's we've designed it that way so the people who are there attending the first day, the keynote session, they all mingle, they all network, and we've designed the layout that way that you have to the conference is on the show floor, so it's all on the same area.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's smart to have those tracks be sort of more ad hoc, right? So you can sort of pick and choose because this may just be me, but lighting controls kind of works its way into everything, right? Like
Hmm.
when you start talking about design for a system and you're going to start talking about compatibility of equipment, ultimately control is going to come into play in some regard. Same thing when you start talking about exterior lighting or health and wellness, and you start talking about different color temperatures and how to achieve that. Controls mixes its way into everything. So even for a young designer, it's nice for them to be able to at least maybe take bits and pieces of various controls tracks or this or that to be able to sort of just start to help put together the whole picture, right? Because you can't just work on lighting design alone and think that that's going to cover you, right? You've got to work through, you have to have at least some basic understanding of control systems and everything else. So giving people that freedom to kind of bounce between those tracks, I think is really smart, because I've been to shows where unfortunately you kind of do get locked in and you miss some really good opportunities and some really good conversations.
Right. Or you're like me, where I'll sit in on a presentation for like 5 minutes and decide that I picked the wrong presentation to sit in on, and get up and leave and try to get into a different one.
Yeah, well, you won't have that problem here, because we only have the one presentation area for this year. So if you decided you're in the wrong one, there's not another one to go to. But,
Right.
Yeah. In the future, as Canada Light Expo expands, perhaps we're going to be able to have two areas and have like a parallel
Well,
kind of programs.
and I think it makes sense to personally, I find it frustrating when it's like, oh, I wish I could go to that one, but I need to go to this one, or I really I want to check that one out. And so having overlap does have its risks. I mean, so I think having it where you're just one space and it's there, you're not overlapping, is nice. Otherwise, then, I've seen sometimes where it's like repeat presentations, but then you'll sit in on the second version and you realize you should have sat on the first one, because their energy is just so flatlined once they've already done it. So there's a lot of risks to trying to overlap your presentations. But so we've got our education stuff going on. What else is going on at this expo?
I'll leave that to you, Gaurav.
So I think so. Yeah, it's two. One is education, and then we talk about the exhibition. We have companies who into architectural lighting, commercial lighting, even a company from the US who's into structures for light poles and all those things. So we have that also. We have lighting controls companies. We have a company from Taiwan who's into lighting controls and all those things. So smart living is also talk of the town these days. Everything has become smart. So we're focusing on smart lighting a lot. And you'll see a lot of smart lighting companies also at the show floor.
That's great. Yeah, and you're right. Smart lighting is kind of the buzzword, or one of the several buzzwords that are circulating the lighting world right now. And so, I would say that, from an outsider's perspective, it seems like people have an awareness of smart lighting, but not enough information to really know what smart lighting is, to really say, okay, yeah, that's what I want. So I think it makes sense to try to attract those kinds of vendors to your
Actually, it's an amalgamation of a lot of things. It's not only lighting or controls. You have to have a lot of things controlled. Then only you can have a lot of smart devices or smart lighting things. I think so. I was there. I was talking to one of the companies, and they had a very particular product. They said, "Okay, we're manufacturing this, and this is only used in smart controls." So they also wanted to see the market. Who are the people there who would be walking the show floor? I would say that a lot of companies are coming this year just to walk the show. They want to see how the market is, who all are there, who all are there meeting at the show floor. It's not only exhibitors, even the visitors. So that's very interesting and very exciting. We're getting emails. Okay, who's there? Can I meet him there or something like that? So it's a very interactive sort of thing. What will happen, I would say.
No, it is, and again, because personally, I'm so used to seeing just the U.S. market, or some spillover from Canada at like Education or Light Fair, or some other expo or big gathering convention center. This is really very different. You're attracting different vendors, and so that's what I'm really interested to see at the show floor is who's
And
there.
we even have some vendors, some manufacturers from Montreal participating, from Vancouver they're participating. In fact, yesterday or day before, there was one company from Edmonton who were inquired for participating. So initially, we
Yeah.
thought only there would be either Toronto-based companies or outside. But within Canada also, we've got some inquiry. We have some exhibitors, and they want to. So everyone wants to see how the market is,
Yeah. Well, and I think
and that's a
what's
good idea. 1 year, 1 year, 1 year Toronto, 1 year Vancouver. We can also do that. So that's
yeah,
also a good idea,
maybe.
I would say.
but
Again,
but
I'll steal that idea.
we'll join the next brainstorming session.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I mean, as as far as things go, like, I've talked to a number of vendors from Canada who are like, which, show should I go to in the US to get this? And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, it really depends on what you're trying to do. Whereas with this, like, we don't really see a lot of Canadian expos right now, so it is sort of like this is it, like, and which is nice because it becomes a magnet. You really do get to see all of the people in the Canadian marketplace. They're like, oh yeah, I should probably, you know, go to a convention, but I don't know which one to go to. But then this one is local, like you're saying, so it's geographically locked to the region they're already focused on rather than trying to export to the US. So it really does make a lot of sense that you're going to see different brands than you would see at, for instance, Education. And so that's, one of the things, again, I'm super excited to see is to meet these different vendors that are across the border, because it's not that their products are inaccessible, it's just that I'm
Right.
unaware.
Mm.
And so, so you're saying there are a lot of people reaching out saying, hey, can I set up these sessions? So how would somebody go about doing that if they wanted to, like, meet up with somebody? Should they reach out to you directly, or are there resources for people who want to make
No,
these connections?
so in fact, we have a B2B matching service on our mobile app. So any visitor who registers can download the mobile app of the show.
Mm,
And once they download the mobile app, they can even connect with other delegates. They can connect with other visitors. They can connect with other exhibitors, and they can fix up the meetings on their own. So B2B matchmaking is one thing what we're promoting, and a lot of companies are using that feature. So, but that's only available only for registered attendees. That's it.
okay, but so you've got a mobile app and it's got this B2B capability. What else is on the app?
Yeah. The whole agenda is there, the list of exhibitors, the products on displays. So if I'm an attendee, I can select each exhibitor, I can see what he's displaying, whatever
Hmm,
information the exhibitor has supplied in the mobile app. So all these information is available. So it's very, user friendly, handy. Even his badge is there on a mobile app. He can show it to the registration counter, get his badge printed. It's all depends that people should download the app. Definitely, we've seen shows. We've been developing mobile app for our shows, different other shows. Earlier, the mobile downloads used to be very less, but post COVID, we've seen that people are using these mobile apps now.
yeah.
Uh, at times, when people used to register with 30% used to turn up at the show. Post COVID, we've seen about 75%. Those who register, 75% turn up at the show.
Wow.
So that's we've seen how digital thing has changed over the years, and especially after COVID.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's great, and yeah, I mean, I definitely use apps when I go to shows, and they're super handy when they're done right. I mean,
Right.
I personally haven't actually seen the app yet, but from what you're telling me, it sounds like you're doing the right stuff, and you've had experience with other expos. So it's, I think that's the other thing here that's worth noting, is that this isn't your first conference or expo that you've done. You've done this again and again and again. So you've gone through the trials and errors. Whereas there are definitely startups out there that try to create their own expo or their conferences for the first time. And I would say that, you can see roughness around the edges with those. And that's why a good number of them have a hard time taking off, because it's like, well, we're just feeling this out. We haven't done this before. Whereas with that experience backing it, it really does give you that edge to make this a really great experience, which people, when they go to conferences, I'm speaking from my own personal experience, but I would imagine people would agree with me, is that they want to be taken care of when they go to this. They don't want to just be like, well, you'll figure it out. They want to be helped along the way to find what they're looking for. So, um, but as far as that goes, is there educational integration with this as well with the app? Tom?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Um,
Can you repeat? Yeah,
yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
Tom.
no worries.
I'm not sure what the like I've been negligent in
No
fully
worries.
registering. I've been so busy behind the scenes, so I haven't seen the app. But Gaurav could probably talk a little bit more about if the where the educational content is. I believe I heard that the program is on there, um, and
So the
I mean
program is
that's
there
been
on
my
the
focus.
app, and yep. So
Oh, please,
if you
Gaurav.
want, you can even select which, yeah, if you want, you can select which session you want to attend. You can wishlist your session, and under my agenda, you have, okay, I have 6 tracks to attend or something like that, and the whole thing is there. So it's very easy to navigate for a delegate, for attendee, what he has to do. So if I'm walking to the show floor, I want to meet about 10 suppliers. I pre-select those suppliers and walk on the show floor and meet those 10 suppliers. So I have my wish list there. I can set my meetings. I can send a reminder to my exhibitors. Okay, I want to meet you this time, and the exhibitor can accept or decline. It's that way. So it's very user friendly. See, what you're talking that everyone, we also organize or we've been doing shows over the last 20 years, but we also learn new things every day, I would say. Every day we learn something new. So for us also, this market is a new market. We've also learned a lot, and day by day, definitely will also improve. There are mistakes, there are errors, there are learnings from each thing you do, and definitely whatever things are there this year left out, we'll definitely improvise on this next year.
Nice. So Gaurav, I'm curious. Since you've done shows in other parts of the world, while this is the first Canada Light Expo, how does that tell us? For everyone listening, what are some of the benefits of you having done similar shows in other parts of the world? What are some of the different things that make this show unique that attendees can look forward to that they wouldn't get at their typical show that they go to in the US every year, right? Like, what are some of the interesting dynamics or changes that you're going to bring to this show that would make people want to be there?
I would say definitely we have a diverse of exhibitors at the show floor, a diverse range of exhibitors. Then we have the educational program. We were discussing that US and Canada people are more, they want to more learn, they want to educate themselves. Whereas this thing is not that in Asia Pac. They're not very much interested in the conference or the educational program. Here, that value is given to educational programs, to workshops. So it's that. And second thing is the geolocal thing what I discussed. That's very important these days. Everyone wants to be who's from Canada, who are the Canadian companies. So that's something very different. And it's more of a complex model, everything on the show floor. So we don't have a separate room for seminar or separate exhibition area. So we've all kept open there.
Well, and you pretty much did my job. I usually do a wrap up at this point, but you kind of wrapped that up nicely, Gaurav. But I do still want to wrap this up a little bit because this is really interesting, and I again I'm very passionate about education, and I think that this is really in alignment with what I really value a lot, which is doing this sort of effort to try to increase awareness and outreach within a community that's underserved. And I would say that the Canadian marketplace is underserved right now when it comes to these sorts of venues. And so, the Canadian Expo, which by the way, I don't think we mentioned when this is happening.
Nope.
So would you mind giving us the blurb of when and where?
Yeah, the show is from 13th to 15th November at the International Center, Mississauga, Toronto. And the first 2 days it's run from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and the last day it's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we have the educational program also running simultaneously at the same time. So it's a full 2.5 day program with the educational series and the exhibition both. And if anyone wants to register, they can go to the website canadalightexpo.com.
And we'll
Yeah, and
definitely have links in the description for that too.
Yeah, and for our American neighbors and people across Canada, this is very close to the Toronto International Airport. There are tons of hotels to stay at. You don't have to worry about going into Toronto traffic unless you want to, because Toronto's a beautiful city. I don't mind saying it. I'm originally from Montreal, but Toronto's a beautiful city. You can go to the airport and hop on the up train, and it takes you down to Toronto. No traffic. You're down in Toronto in about 15 minutes. You can take the up train back up, and tons of hotels in that area.
Yeah, no, when I was scouting out locations, like Tom said, it's pretty accessible to the hotels and the airport. So definitely a really easy opportunity to get there and back. Or again, if you're local to the Northeast, you could drive. I mean, it is a bit of a drive if you're going through upstate New York to get to Toronto, but it's definitely an easier drive than trying to drive to like the Midwest or something. But
Yeah.
I really do think that this is fantastic, and I definitely encourage our listeners to check this out, because it really does kind of expose a part of the market that has been a little bit hidden in the United States, especially, and we do have a lot of listeners in the U.S. So I'm speaking specifically to our U.S. listeners, but definitely our Canadian and international listeners too should check this out and think about this because, again, we have sort of this habit of becoming very self-contained in our industries, and we like to
Very siloed.
especially in lighting controls, we love to pick one brand and stick with that brand, and regardless of whether it's the right brand for the project, we're going to stick with it because we're familiar with it. And I like to keep reminding people, diversity is the way to succeed in this industry. It's not picking a brand and sticking with it. It's becoming aware of everything that's out there. And the fact that this is going to be showcasing stuff that is newer or more unique or lesser known to the U.S. market, definitely check it out because you'll definitely see some new players in the game. And additionally, Tom being in charge of the Lighting Agora, and which is a great resource of educators. I know the educational track is going to be really worth the time and effort to go out there and listen to the people who are going to be speaking there. You don't even have to go to my own sessions to learn something. I'm not trying to purport. I'm not trying to
But
raise myself
please
up.
do.
but
Webster, your first session is right after the network lunch, and they can come there and hear the keynote, do some mingling, learn about controls right after. You don't have to move very far, right? So
that's
yeah,
for sure. And by all means, like I would love to see some of my listeners there attending my sessions because I'm very passionate about these sorts of things. But yeah, I mean,
And Webster, I would like to add up one thing. I would like to add up one thing. With these expos, you create a lot of awareness. You create new markets. There are a lot of small, or I would say mid sort of contractors, maybe, or designers or architects, maybe distributors or lighting store. They would travel everywhere because it's their industry shows. But let's say if we talk about an electrical contractor or architect, he would not travel to a bigger lighting show anyway.
right.
So for them, it's more awareness. It's adopting to new technologies, knowing technique. So it creates a market.
Yeah.
It creates a market for those sort of people who have never seen those things. For them, this sort of expos and networking things are very helpful.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
And there's also a level of mentorship that comes out of that too. A number of people I've either created a mentor out of a conversation or become a mentor out of a conversation just because somebody said or I said this is my first time here, I'm unfamiliar with this, and you strike up that conversation. It really creates this collaborative and educational opportunity. Some of these contractors, like you said, are local and they don't really have the opportunity to be paid to fly out to Las Vegas. And so having it right in Toronto means that you're going to start attracting Toronto labor that really can't migrate outside of that city. So you're absolutely right, Gaurav. That's an excellent point, and another reason to go there if you want to start making those network connections locally with the Toronto area, whether you're a vendor from outside or you're a local vendor.
Yeah, Gaurav, Tom, really, thank you guys so much for a great conversation today. I
Thank
want to
you.
encourage everyone that can attend to attend the expo. We talk a lot
And,
about education on the show. No, go ahead, Tom.
yeah, sorry. I just want to point out that the early bird passes are available up until October 31st, and you save 25% on either a 1 day ticket or a 2 or 3 day ticket. And you can reach out to us at www.canadalightexpo.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, we talk so much about education. It sounds like you have such a great educational track for our listeners to be able to go to and attend. Sounds like it's going to be a great show, and I think for companies on both sides, there's an opportunity to learn something from each other. And there are like us personally, we use a couple different Canadian manufacturers, and they've made getting the product very easy, right? So don't be afraid to work with a company in Canada, or probably vice versa, a company in US if you're based in Canada, because you're worried about shipping and tariffs and all that fun stuff. A lot of the manufacturers really do already have it figured out and have made it very easy. So I think it's a great way for people to connect across borders and really help educate each other and sit through this educational track, which I'm sure will be fascinating to hear some of the dynamics between the two markets and how things are done. So I hope that Webster has a Canadian counterpart that the two of them can go back and forth. That would
Oh,
be
yes, he does.
absolutely
Oh, yes, he
fantastic.
does.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Make sure someone
Yeah.
records that for me.
Yeah.
I love it.
Uh,
That sounds great. Guys, thank you
uh,
so much. It sounds like it's going to be a great show.
Thank you,
I wish
Ron.
you all the success in the world. And I will take this minute to close us out and remind everyone today's episode is presented by the LCA, the Lighting Controls Association.
And it's financially supported by the National Association of International Lighting Distributors. Innovative lighting distributors. Wow. Okay. Check out our website, lightingcontrolspodcast.com. And also check out CanadaLightExpo.com if you want to check out the show. Definitely worth looking at and considering going to. Early bird ends Halloween. So if you want to get on it soon. But also, thank you so much for joining us, and Tom and Gaurav, thank you so much. It's a really great conversation.